If you've ever built an app with AI coding tools, you might have struggled to set up an API key or create a developer account with a different provider and actually get your API key and put it into that app that you're building. And today I want to talk to you about a release from Replit which allows you to add over 300 different AI models into your app project without getting a single API key. I think this is massively powerful for anyone building AI apps, but more specifically for people building apps for their own businesses who don't want to worry about tracking AI usage costs across all these different API keys. And so in this video, I'm going to walk you step by step through creating an app and using the AI integrations in Replit so that you can create an app from start to finish without having to use any of your own API keys. If you don't know me, my name is Chris, and for the last 15 years, I've been designing apps and advising startups on product and design. And with that said, let's jump straight into Replit, start building our app, and show you how AI integrations works.
Build great products. Build great products.
So let's build our app using any AI model from over 300 AI models with Replit. And the way that they have done this is they've basically integrated, at least for the majority of this functionality, I think they basically integrated OpenRouter into their product directly. So before, what I would recommend for a lot of people building AI apps, if you have AI functionality in your app, is to use something like OpenRouter instead of the actual direct API with ChatGPT or Claude or Grok, because what OpenRouter does is it allows you to choose and change your AI models at any time. So this basically just gives you one API that you can then switch between all these different AI models. What Replit have done is that they've integrated that directly into Replit. So essentially you can get access to any of these models on OpenRouter, and there is a bunch of free models as well. So if you want to build an app for free and you're looking for a free AI model that you can use, you can actually just do that. You can basically add a free AI model from OpenRouter and just ask Replit to add it. We're going to build an app here which uses a few different AI integrations. It's going to use ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, and Gemini, and we're going to create a chat app which basically compares the output of these different chat models. And one other thing that I want to mention in Replit as well that they've just recently added is a bunch of these integrations called connectors, which connect directly to any of your services that you already use on a day-to-day basis, like Google Drive, Google Docs, Notion, all of these kind of tools, YouTube as well, which is really great. So if you want to build apps specifically for like a YouTube account, or you're using a bunch of these different tools as a business and you want to connect your app to your kind of business accounts or your team's like Notion account, all of that stuff, it means that you can do that super easily. And this is why I think Replit is such a great platform for actually building internal business apps for your own business, or if you're building apps to sell to businesses to kind of help them out and give them apps that they can use to kind of make their own processes more streamlined, save them money, make them more money, all of that sort of stuff. I think Replit is a great place to start as well. And you can always come out of Replit if you need to add any more complex functionality or do anything else. But for the most part, all that you need is built into Replit. And so let's get started building our chat comparison app here. So I'm just going to paste this prompt in that I wrote earlier, which says to create an app that allows us to chat with different AI models and compare the outputs side by side. I want to have a left-hand navigation with a list of my chats, and then when I start a new chat, be presented with a chat window to send the first message, as well as checkboxes in a drop-down to select up to 3 AI models that I want to compare. Then when I send the message, the chat would split into columns for each chat with each AI model so I can compare the results. The AI models I want to allow users to compare are Gemini, Claude, Grok, and ChatGPT. So we're going to be able to create this app using these different AI models. And usually what you would have to do in this instance is you'd have to go to each of these platforms, each of these AI kind of providers, create a developer account, create an API key, store all of those API keys somewhere so that you don't forget them, and then add those API keys in here manually. It's not a massive amount of work, but it does take a little bit of time to get it up and running. And if you're just creating something to validate it, just to see if it's going to work, it can be a bit of a pain to just go and like try it and get all that stuff to set up something that you might not even kind of develop into a real app, or you might not end up using. And so this is a great way as well to like get a prototype of your early kind of app idea built and working before actually switching over to your own API keys if you want to do that later. But you can always just use the built-in API keys, the built-in AI functionality from Replit, and Replit just charges that against your Replit account. So you just need credits on your Replit account. And if you're doing this as a business and you can kind of prove the value of having these apps as a business that's going to support your team better, then you can justify the cost relatively easily, because that's just offset against whatever time kind of saved or whatever extra money that you're able to make through adding these apps to kind of replace internal business processes. So let's go through and create this app. So it said here, this is exactly the thing that I'm talking about down the bottom. It says confirm OpenAI integration, add OpenAI to your app using Replit's managed service, no API keys required, charges are billed to your credits. This is the AI integrations piece that we're talking about. So we just click approve here. This will add this AI model to our project. We're going to also confirm this for Anthropic. So we're going to confirm it for Anthropic. We're going to do it for the other AI models here as well. So for Gemini, we're going to click approve. And then for OpenBrowser, we're going to click approve as well. And it's going to use OpenBrowser here to access all of these other AI models like Grok or xAI. You can also add in DeepSeek, Mistral, Llama from Meta, and a bunch of other AI models as well, including a bunch of free ones, as I mentioned. You can go over to OpenBrowser and have a look through their list of models, as I kind of showed you earlier, to see which ones do what and which you might want to integrate into your project. Replit is going to add in OpenBrowser functionality for us, and it's going to just charge that against our Replit account. So let's see what Replit comes back with here and continue building our app. So as usual with Replit, what we're going to get when we start is we're going to get a detailed plan about the app that we want to build. So we're building a multimodal AI chat comparison app with side-by-side responses from ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Grok. It's going to have a left-hand sidebar, model selection interface, initial single chat input, dynamic multi-column layout, simultaneous message sending, side-by-side comparison, chat persistence, and a clean modern UI with responsive design optimized for comparing multiple outputs. I actually didn't select a design or add any design direction in here, so it will be interesting to see what it comes back with. And my expectation is it's just going to be purple, so we're going to prompt it to change that as well. What we get here is two options. We can either start with a design, so I'm actually going to start with a design and then iterate on the visuals before we build the entire app, which is going to take 20+ minutes in this instance. It does give you an idea of the time that it's going to take to do that. So let's start designing this app first, and then we'll be able to build out the full app plan after we're happy with the design. And this is also a way that I really like to work when building applications, even not using Replit, for example. If I'm doing this in Cursor, or if we're doing this using a different tool to kind of build the app, I do generally like to start with like getting the design elements right and then moving on to building the functionality, because I do think a lot of the time when you get that design, the design side of it right first, it actually helps the AI understand how you want to design all of the rest of the features that you build into the app. And so it can take a lot of time to update all of the design across everything for an entire app after you've built the full thing. But if you're just building 1 or 2 pages to start off with and you get the design nailed on those first pages, then that will kind of continue to build in that same design style as you continue to build the rest of your app. So let's see the design that Replit comes back with here. So we've now got the design of our app back here, and I think this is pretty basic. So the dark mode is actually a little bit nicer here, but let's try and make this even nicer. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to go over to Dribbble, which is dribble.com. If you don't know Dribbble already, this is a great place for getting visual inspiration. What I've searched for here is dark mode design system. Now I've done another video on how to translate a design system into kind of a code format that you can use for any AI coding tool. I'm not going to go through that full process here, but you can go and watch that if you're interested. What I'm going to simply do is basically get a screenshot of a design system or some design components that I like this one here, or I might actually go for this one instead. I'm just going to screenshot the middle of this image because I don't want to include this gradient in the outside. I just want to include this bit here, and I'm just going to ask Replit to design our app to match the style of this screenshot. So in Replit, let's click keep iterating on design. And I'm going to say, let's add the screenshot in here. So I've added this screenshot in here and I said, let's update the design of this app to follow the design style in the attached screenshot. First, extract design style guidelines at a high level from this screenshot, like a creative director, include component structure, layout, fonts, and colors, and then update the design to match this user interface system. I also want to use the font Work Sans for all text. So let's send that to Replit and get this design looking right before we build the functionality of the app. What you can see though in this app that we've built here is now we've integrated all of these AI models just in one click. We did it in about 10 seconds, just going through building this app setup. Now we've got access to all of these in our app. So if I go to this select models drop down in the top right here in this AI chat, we can select these different AI models. I actually want to break this down even further and include the different variants of these AI models. So not just Claude, but like Claude Sonnet 4.5, Claude Haiku, Gemini 2.5, ChatGPT 5, like all of those different variants of the models in here as well, so that we can choose multiple models to actually test. But we're going to add that in once we actually start building the app here. For now, let's just see how Replit updates the design. And it's created this design guidelines.md file in the project as well, which is really good because I like generally to create like guideline files and markdown files in the project that guide the AI on how to design and build this app better. And you can do that for things like design and also for features and technology, more like mini PRDs in all of these different markdown files within your project basically. So it's good to see that Replit is taking that approach and it's starting to update the design here. Quick break in the episode to talk about my community for people building apps with AI. It's called the AI App Builders Academy. Inside, you'll learn how to plan, build, launch, and grow a profitable app with AI in just 21 days. And you'll also get access to more advanced courses like how to build with Claude Code, how to build mobile apps, how to build AI agents, and more, with new lessons being released every single week. On top of that, you'll also get over $3 million worth of AI deals so that you can start building at zero cost, and also access to our weekly Q&A sessions where you can get unstuck on your app building journey. And if you sign up to our VIP annual plan, which is offered at a 60% discount, you'll also get access to monthly group coaching and workshops, as well as our community demo day, where you can pitch your app idea to me and other VIP founders to get business and strategic advice on your app. This community is full of people building real applications with AI and getting real paying customers. And this is the lowest price that it's ever going to be because we increase the price for every 50 members that join the community. And so if you want to lock in your price and start building your app business today, then just head over to school.com/AI apps to find out more. I'll see you there. On the dark theme styling, it's updating it here. We're using Work Sans now as the font here. We can click on these are the different chat views. So I like these. I do think that the text is maybe a little bit too bright. We don't have a toggle between light mode and dark mode, which is absolutely fine. We're just going to keep light mode. So we can actually remove this. I'm going to add in a color for the primary button. So let's go back to Dribbble and just have a look. This has got white as that primary button color, but I actually want to use a primary button color here that's going to stand out a little bit more. And maybe we can use this kind of color here. So let's go back to Replit and let's add this in. So we're going to click keep iterating on design and we're going to do a few more tweaks here as well. We can drop that down and do select models. So let's do keep iterating on design. Let's say let's make the text more and slightly less opacity across the entire app, and let's make the primary buttons let's actually come here and search for button design, button UI design in Dribbble. And what I want to do here is I want to just find a design style for a button that I really like. So we're actually going to go with this one. So I'm just going to screenshot this button here, and actually let's screenshot both of them. Let's update, and we'll say let's update the buttons in this app to match the components in the attached screenshot, and let's make the buttons in the app match the buttons in the attached screenshot. Use the purple blue button as the primary button. Let's send that off to Replit to do. So this is also a good way of working as you're working on the design side here, is just to use screenshots of components that you like instead of full UIs. That will give you more fine kind of control over all the different aspects of this. So I actually don't like these changes that it's done here because it's removed like some of the bits that I like. So let's just roll back here to the previous checkpoint. Let's roll back to this. So instead of trying to do that purple button, let's just improve the white button styling in this app. And we're going to use this, we're just going to use this left kind of style here. So we're going to say, let's go for a more skeuomorphic button style with a subtle 3D effect like the attached screenshot with a soft And let's send that off to Replit. And then we're going to update the text styling here and maybe a few other elements. And then I think we're good to build the full functionality for this app. So let's just make a few more changes to the styling of this app. And then I think we're good to build it. So first I want to basically, we've updated this button style. It's okay. I'm going to leave it as it is for now. It works really well on these dark buttons here. So you can see it's like a slightly kind of subtle 3D effect on these, which is great. The dark mode toggle isn't working because we removed light mode. What I want to do here is tighten up the typography a little bit, and I also just want to make sure that these chats on the left hand side have enough vertical padding so that they actually are easily separated. So let's just add that prompt in here. So I'm going to do these two changes as two separate requests, and that's generally good practice to not like combine multiple requests when you're building your app with AI tools like Replit, just so that the agent knows exactly what it's supposed to do. And then I'm going to use the select element mode here to do this next change. So we're just going to go select element and then select this, and I want to increase the vertical padding. Make sure there's enough vertical padding on these elements so that they are clearly separated. And let's send that to Replit to do this. Okay, that is much better. Now we can click on these individual chats and we can see the individual AI models that we're using in these chats to compare them as well. I'm going to do one more change here because I think it will look good, which it was in an earlier version. I don't know why it's got rid of it. It was like the colored bar along each of these different chat models. So I'm going to say like, let's add a colored subtle gradient bar along the top of each AI chat model in the chat interface that matches the color of that AI model. And we're going to select the element here as well so that we can be clear about exactly what we want to do here. So let's add that in. And then I'm just basically going to tell Replit to build the entire app. There we go. So we've got our colored bar. So let's actually build this app. So here we go. And one thing that I'm going to do here, and one thing that I would recommend every time you do a new feature, every time you want the agent to do something new when you're building your app, just start a new chat. So there's a button in most AI coding tools with new chat, or where you can clear the context. Just click new chat. We're going to have a new chat with the agent here. Let's say the design is now done. Let's build the full app functionality, and we're going to send that off and get Replit to build out this full applications functionality for us so we can actually choose and compare different AI models here. One thing I just want to show here as we're building this as well is just the agent testing as you're building your app in Replit. So this is just a test kind of session that Replit is doing, the Replit agent is doing in its own browser, just going through and actually using the app to test that it all works. So it's going to select these AI models and it's going to type a message and send it, see if it gets the response back, and then kind of debug the app by itself, which a lot of these tools are starting to do now, but Replit was kind of like one of the first to do this in this space, and it can be super useful to create all of this complex functionality and then just let the agent test the functionality as it builds it. And you can turn this on or off by just going to the agent settings and tools menu just down here in the chat. Just through this little icon here, you can kind of turn on or off app testing, and you can set the autonomy level of the agent as well. So if you want really fine-tuned control, you can select it to low autonomy level. And if you really want it to just kind of go wild and build everything without you kind of like overseeing anything and give the agent more control, you can set it to high or max. And there is a bunch more features in here as well. So you can use a higher power model. We can turn on web search, add image generation in here as well. So Replit agent will be able to do all these things to your app as it's building. So Replit has now finished building our application. And I'll be honest, it took about 40 minutes because it went through a lot of testing here. I do have testing turned on. So if I scroll back through the chat, you can see all of these kind of like testing in the browser. It did a test, did another test, another test, another test. I just kind of let it go. You could have stopped it here, but it was coming up against this specific bug that it was having a lot of problems fixing and just kind of like trying to fix it in a lot of different ways over and over again. Now, to be fair, this did probably save me hours of time back and forth, like going around in a loop trying to fix this bug. And so I'm glad Replit did this in a way, but it did take a while. So I went off and did some other work and then came back after Replit had built the app. And now let's actually test the app to see if it's working. And you can see all of these messages on the left-hand side here. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm just going to add a couple of features here that will actually turn this into an app that you could legitimately build for your business and actually start getting value from straight away. For now, it's just a simple like like you select the different chat models here. So I'll select 3 chat models, Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT. We don't have the versions or like the models in there specifically, so I'm going to add that in as well as one of these extra features that we're going to add. We can type a message in here and ask it a question. So let's say, give me a simple strategy for launching a software startup in 2025. Let's send the message off. This is going to start our 3 different AI models that we've got here, and then it's going to give us a response back from each of those AI models. So we've integrated all of these different AI models into our app. I haven't gone to any developer platform and got an API key and copied it over or done anything in the environment variables here, which is usually what you have to do when you're setting up this AI functionality. So let's see what these AI models come back with here. So these AI models have now given me an answer to this. So we can see in each of these, okay, here's a simple actionable strategy for launching a software startup. Simple software startup strategy in Markdown. Claude has given it to me in Markdown format, which is interesting. Here's a simple focus blueprint you can follow to launch a software startup in 2025. Pick a narrow wedge, validate in 2 weeks. Actually, Gemini, I think, has done it in Markdown here as well. But now we've got these 3 different messages back from these different AI models. We can easily compare the output of this, and I can actually like shrink this so I can see each of these better here as well. And we can turn them off in the chat and select any other models. If I select one that I haven't sent a message to, it's not going to give me the answer. But what I can do is go back into type a new message, and if I want to use Grok instead, I can then get a response from that and just send this new message off here. So now we've got this. I want to add in a couple of other features to make this an app that you could actually use in your business. So one of the features that I want to add next is basically a feature to add a knowledge base to this app so that I could put in any knowledge from my specific business and then message each of these AI models using that knowledge as context to ask it a question and to compare the different results. So this is great for things like research based on specific context, or asking a question about a specific process or something to do with your business based on like any documents or information you have about your own business. And you could also build this app to give to other businesses and to sell to other businesses to use for themselves as well, and kind of set all of this up for them. So I've put this prompt in here which says, let's add a feature that allows the user to add knowledge to each chat in a text field. This knowledge would be able to be referenced by each AI model as context for the conversation. Add an add knowledge button next to the select models drop down in the top right here, and add a modal with a text field when you click that, which has a save and cancel button where you can basically add knowledge in a text format. When knowledge is added, change the button to edit knowledge. And before I send this off, as usual, what we're going to do here is we're just going to start a new chat with the agent. You should do this every time you start a new feature, every time you start working on something different, just to give it a kind of clean slate to start from, a clean slate to work from. And if I did want to do this, spend a bit more time on this, I could have put this into plan mode first and then written a plan out for this instead of just going straight into build. But we're just going to go through and build these features pretty quickly here. And then once Replit has built this feature, I'm just going to add in the ability to see the exact model in the drop down here. And I think we're going to have an app that we could legitimately use to compare AI outputs. And that is pretty useful. And all of the AI integrations that we've done are all just inside of Replit. We haven't added any API keys at all. So Replit has now finished building this add knowledge feature into our app. So what it's added basically is it doesn't have the add knowledge button up here yet. If I select multiple models and then start a chat, it will then add the add knowledge button up here that you can add knowledge to. But this is not how I want this to function. What I would like to do is if I start a new chat, I want to have the add knowledge option here already so that I can have a saved chat and I can add the knowledge before I actually start talking to any AI models. So let's just make that change here. So let's say, let's update add knowledge to make the button visible before I start a chat with any AI model. This allows me to add my knowledge to the conversation before sending the first message. Let's send that to Replit and get it to add this change in. Once we've done that, there is some other stuff that you could do here, but this is basically the foundation of an app that would be super useful. We might want to remove this light and dark mode toggle. We might want to add in the ability to edit the chat names, to delete chats or archive chats. And we also might want to add in some sort of login and log out and sign up functionality here as well. Even if you're doing this as an internal app for your your own team. You also might want to add in some way of adding like global knowledge to the entire chats that you're having here. And you also might want to add in a way of determining these different models specifically, as I mentioned before. But otherwise, we have the foundations here of a really amazing app. We haven't added any API keys, as I mentioned already. That's all built in with Replit. That's using our Replit credits. And it means that we can get up and running with an application that's going to be valuable for us super quickly and start building our app. So now we've updated this feature, I can now click here to select the AI models I want to use in the chat. I can click add knowledge to add some knowledge in here as well. It's going to open a pop-up. Let's say our business sells lemons in the UK. Let's save that. And then let's send a message to these 3 AI models and just say, what does my business sell? Just to check that this works. That is going to hopefully use the knowledge that we've attached here. So there we go. Your business sells lemons in the UK. So this is now working. So what we can do with this is we can start new chats. We can select different AI models without integrating any APIs here, edit the knowledge for those, and then send messages to compare the different outputs across different AI models. This is easily an app that you could build for your business in about an hour, a couple of hours, get the features up and running, add authentication, log in and sign up. And this is how you can build an app using Replit and integrate hundreds of different AI models into your app. So you can see there how easy it is to add in APIs for AI functionality into your app in Replit just by prompting it and clicking approve. That is going to allow Replit to use your own Replit credits for the AI functionality in your app. This is really useful if you're building internal apps or apps for your own business, just because it means you don't have to go and set up API keys every time you want to build a new app and add that into your app. It also means that you can build and test prototypes really quickly without having to create a bunch of API keys every time you want to build a new app idea as well. And if you are building an app or you've got an idea for an app and you want to start building it, I've got a community to help people do just that over at school.com/AI apps, and you can head over there to check it out. We have weekly calls, a classroom with courses, and much more to help you on your app building journey. But if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It means a lot to me and it helps the channel grow. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Build great products. Build great products.